So after several disappointing follow-ups for over several decades, did we finally get an actually decently good sequel to this movie? Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover Warren 20 here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review, and this is for a movie that was supposed to come out last year, but was one of the many victims of the coronavirus delays. I think this was one of the few that had easily the most delays. I mean, it was bumped till so many times, all the way till November 2021 this year, so it's finally out, and it's for a fourth installment of a 1980s franchise that started in 1984. And this review is going to be, of course, for none other than Ghostbusters Afterlife. So, yeah, I know this review seems a little early, but I actually went and I saw this movie last night. Yeah, kind of like a semi-advanced screening of it. So, what's the plot of it first? Well, after being evicted from their home, a single mother and her two children are forced to move to a decayed farmhouse in Summerville, Oklahoma, left to them by the children's late grandfather, where a series of unexplained earthquakes are occurring despite not being situated at any fault, or strange things that are happening in an old mine which once belonged to the alleged cultist Ivo Shandor. The children discover that the history of their grandfather are the original Ghostbusters, who have been largely forgotten by the world beyond their fanbase. When supernatural phenomena relating to New York City's Manhattan cross rip of 1984 occur and threaten the world, the kids, along with their family and friends, must solve the decades-old mystery of the relocation of their grandfather and use the equipment of the Ghostbusters and become their successors to save it. So yeah, I saw a Wednesday night advance screening last night. Went in with very low expectations based on the complete disaster that the last reboot attempt was and the lame sequel 2 was. I'll recap. The only movie I ever liked in this franchise is the first film only. With this, I have to say I was very pleasantly surprised. It was a good homage to the original movie while at the same time adding quite a bit of fresh content. Afterlife is a film that in some points recalls the first Ghostbusters, but which has its own ideology. The characters they present to us are almost as well characterized and useful to the plot. The director did a good job given the great responsibility he had with this film. Some ideas are very bright and innovative. The first hour and a half is very beautiful, full of jokes and suspenseful scenes. One of the problems is the last half hour that is kind of lost a bit by recalling the first film a lot. The soundtrack is irrelevant, apart from those two moments when you hear the original themes. Overall, it is a good film. Not on the levels of the first, but certainly superior to Ghostbusters 2 and the shitty female 2016 film. And I definitely won't spoil much, guys, but the last 10 minutes of the film, during and post-credit scenes, pays a lot of good homage to the original movie. There were some, there were, at first, during the final battle sequence, I thought they were going to kind of rehash some things a little bit. They were just going to rehash the first one again, but thankfully, they do actually subvert it. On the very last moment of the final battle, they actually kind of subvert it. And we get a very good cameo, guys. And I won't spoil who it is, because you have to see the movie to find out. But yeah, those are kind of the good qualities. But the bad qualities were, Paul Rudd is in this movie, guys. For those of you who obviously do know, however, it doesn't use Paul Rudd nearly as much as it should. There were a lot of jokes that Paul could have bought, and they missed the ball there. Paul Rudd barely has a lot of scenes, and that's what I kind of really didn't like. And like with Ghostbusters 2, where are the ghosts? I mean, there should have been a lot more ghosts and some creepy and cool dolls, but there are only a handful. Don't want to give away any spoilers, but for a sequel to an irrelevant and sarcastic comedy, this kind of really lacked that tone and was instead filled to the brim with reverence-style details big and small of that original. That really seemed misplaced to me, especially a very sentimental, cliched and corny ending until our expectations got subverted. The pace of the movie is not really that great, especially at the end. Like, some characters are a little bit underused, and some subplots aren't going anywhere, which is really weird. Another weird thing is that the movie tries to be funny constantly and kind of does get a little annoying at times, but those are kind of the bad qualities I have with the movie. And as for the kids, well, aka the kids played by Finn Wolfhard and McKenna Grace, were very good and they had some funny dialogue, and the plot also did kind of lack some stakes and clarity. As someone who does really love the original movie, it had some cool moments that made me remember the original, but then often also didn't make a lot of sense to the logic of the story. But however, I still really enjoyed the sequel, and this movie is actually directed by the Ivan Reitman's son, Jason Reitman, who did cameo in Ghostbusters 2 and during the party sequence. Birthday party scene. He did really good here, actually. Like, he really paid homage to the first Ghostbusters film very well. And it was actually a very good dedication to Harold Ramis, who we had lost in 2014. Now, there are also two post-credit scenes that I guess are kind of worth checking out as well. And yeah. And surprisingly, if I had to rank this, I'd say I'd rank this in second place, behind the original first one. Because after two disappointingly bad follow-ups with Ghostbusters 2 in the 2016 movie, it is good to finally get an actually decently good follow-up to the first film after so many years. Yeah, but all in all, this movie is entertaining and much better than both the 1989 sequel and the 2016 remake, but still nowhere close to the original in records of comedy, tone, and story. Which would kind of make sense. You can't really even top I don't think at this rate you can even top the original movie, but I will say this. Like I've said in my intro, there is good fan service, but is it really enough? Fan service really enough in the end? But overall, if you do like the first film or are somewhat a Ghostbusters fan, you will actually get a pretty good kick out of this. This film's kind of strictly for Ghostbusters fans, so if you're not really a Ghostbusters fan, I probably wouldn't recommend going to see this. It's definitely better than the previous two follow-ups, although knowing those, is that even saying much? Until then, that'll be it for my review of Ghostbusters Afterlife, and here's how I'm going to rank it. I am going to give Ghostbusters Afterlife a 7 out of 10. And there we go. So you're probably all wondering, why did you put the worth watching below the 7 out of 10? Well, I decided to come up with that rating system because because I have a feeling whenever I upload, I seem to keep losing a subscriber, so I decided maybe I just realized my rating system was getting a little stale, so I decided to add a little thing at the bottom, and if you're wondering, little bottoms to make it a little more newer and upgrade my rating system a little bit, while still keeping the number system. And the reason I didn't replace it with just worth watching, or replace the 7 out of 10 with worth watching, because if I just only had a worth watching, I would have kind of looked a little bit too much like a Cody Leach knockoff, and I don't really want to be like a Cody Leach knockoff, so yeah, so the number system will still stay, but it'll have a little new thing added below it. But until then, so yeah, I say this film is actually worth watching. Until then, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, then don't forget to like, subscribe to Movie Lover 120.